The North Carolina Tennis Then and Now series. Connecting the future of tennis through the history of our past and the story of our present. North Carolina Tennis Then and Now.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second installment of the Then and Now series. We are very, very honored today to celebrate April being Autism Awareness Month. And who better to have with us in the discussion is Lou Welch, who's the Executive Director for the Abilities Tennis Association in North Carolina. So let me first, before we turn it to Lou, let me tell you a little bit about Abilities and why it's unique. In North Carolina and all across USTA land, we have community tennis associations, and most of our tennis associations deal with a certain zip code area. And Abilities Tennis is a different type of CTA because it covers the entire state. And so when we think about working with athletes with intellectual disabilities, we automatically know that Abilities Tennis Association has been our main function of that in North Carolina. And Lou's been with the organization. She's not the founding executive director, Kirsty Marks was, but Lou came on and has been absolutely the best medicine there could ever be for North Carolina tennis, and that she is just perfectly suited for this position. And she has led the Abilities Tennis Association to a new level of excellence. So with that, welcome Lou Welch. We're so glad to have you today. And Lou, tell us just a little bit about yourself and also about Abilities Tennis Association.
Well, Kelly, thank you for having me. It's good to see you today. Yes, I feel very fortunate and blessed to have this job that I love so much now for 7 years. Ironically, I majored in therapeutic recreation in college, and things have come full circle where I can now use what I feel are my gifts to work with people with intellectual disabilities. Abilities Tennis mission is to provide tennis programming to people with intellectual disabilities. And as you stated, we cover the whole state. We have 20 to 23 clinics going at one time. We have 7 tournaments. And then there are all kinds of other programs, activities that we have going on, such as at the Atlantic Tire Championships or at the Winston-Salem Open. We have unified doubles. We'll have clinics available there. So it's very exciting. The USTA, North Carolina Tennis, they both allow us to participate in all kinds of programs and tournaments that give our athletes the opportunity to shine and show their talents.
So Lou, is this program free for athletes?
It is.
There's some costs involved in all this.
Well, all of our athletes can join for any program, and it is free. That is one of the hallmarks of our program. But it does cost. Every clinic that we start up, just depending on who's doing it, could run anywhere from $1,200 to $2,500 to start it. We provide the curriculum, the equipment, either volunteers or tennis pros are running it. So there is a lot that goes into it. And then other associated costs are with our extended programming and our tournaments, which we have 7 across the state. The cost of that can run anywhere between $2,500 and $4,500. Wow.
So how in the world, without charging the participants, how do you sustain this?
Well, our community is very generous. We have people who donate. We also have one big fundraiser called Footprints on the Court. This year, it will be November the 4th through the 7th. Actually, that Thursday night will be a unified doubles event at Carolina Country Club in Raleigh. So we hope a lot of people will come to that. We also get grants through USTA, North Carolina Tennis and Southern. So because of all that and the generosity of people, we have been overwhelmed by an outpouring of just gracious love towards our community, especially this past year. And if you get a chance, it'd be great if you could go on our website and look at Footprints on the Court last year, which was a documentary, which is awesome. John Isner made an appearance with one of our athletes.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's just a great documentary of our athletes, and you get to know more about what we are doing.
And your and this association is very well, has won many awards, even as recent as 2020. You just were given an award. Can you tell us a little bit? Go ahead and brag on yourself. This is a good thing, and brag on your organization.
Well, I think probably the biggest honor was that we won the Adaptive Award, the National Adaptive Award, and we were flown up to the U.S. Open back in 2018, and that was huge. We were right at the award ceremony with Chris Everett and some really famous folks, and it was just incredible. I think that was probably the biggest. Well, that along with, I count this as an award being chosen by Net Generation to take 25 of our athletes to the U.S. Open to perform a 10-minute demo on Arthur Ashe. It was incredible. We were on right before Djokovic-Londero match in 2019, and Brogan DeBurr, one of our athletes, flipped the coin for their match, and it was just a life-changing event for our people.
That will be one of not only your life memories, it will be many others too. That was it was part of mine. That was a wonderful celebration in 2018, and what a thrill in 2019. And you know, we've all had to adapt a little bit during COVID. How has your organization, because you know, we couldn't be together, and you just said you do these clinics and tournaments throughout the state. What have you done to kind of overcome our COVID problem this year?
Well, Kelly, right when COVID hit, I remember this overwhelming feeling. I was talking to one of my friends who said, I just took a dance class online. It was really fun. And I thought, we can take tennis to Zoom. And that's what we did. Within 2 weeks, we had Zoom clinics set up. We had anywhere from 30 to 50 of our people attending. We did it every Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock, and people would show up and they got to see each other and they got to chat. And we would go through basically a clinic. We do the warm up. We would do the tennis drills. We do some cardio, and then we would have a dance party. We'd play a song and everybody would dance, and we had the best time. And, you know, for our population, this was a great setup for a lot of them. Now, for some, they were like, this is not tennis and I'm not attending. And that, you know, there's going to be that. Right. And then other people are in group homes and they have no access to the internet. So, you know, obviously it's not ideal in a lot of ways. However, it allowed us to remain connected. We did a lot of things through the internet. Our athletes would send in videos of what they were doing to stay active. And that was pretty cool to keep them engaged that way. Now, a lot of people, you know, were eating and drinking a lot and gaining weight. Our athletes were focusing on getting healthy. They were doing workouts between us and Special Olympics. We actually did a program with them called Partner Up, Power Up. So there were other workouts for them to do also. And our athletes lost an average of 10 pounds. Wow. So it's been really exciting to see how dedicated they've been to their workout routines over this time. We even have hired a nutritionist to come in now and do some videos and talk about changing your taste buds, how to stay hydrated, best snacks before and after a workout. So she's been a great addition. So it's just, we've just taken this time during the pandemic to try some new and different programming, and it's been really successful and well accepted.
Well, Lou, none of that surprises me because you and I've known each other an awfully long time. And I know that whenever you're faced with a challenge, you make it an opportunity and you leap right over it. And it sounds like you and Abilities Tennis did exactly what they needed to do for your athletes. So let's switch a little bit and let's talk about your athletes, because that is the main thing when it comes to the people that you serve. This is April is Autism Awareness Month. So let's talk about, and I know that not every athlete has autism that you serve, but let's talk about that. What is autism? How does tennis affect that? Just kind of give us a little background on maybe educate us on what we should know.
Autism is a disorder. It's very complex neurological and developmental disorder that affects how a person acts, communicates, learns, and interacts with others. So what we found, researchers have found, sports are excellent for people with autism. Our goal is, our parents' goal is to find a sport that is best suited for their child, for their athlete. And, each athlete, whether they have sensory or socialization issues, or maybe they just need a boost in self-esteem, parents turning to sports is often what they'll do. Research has shown that athletes that have autism, single person sports are really good. Sometimes people with autism don't want to be touched or don't want to be too close to other people. And so team sports where there might be physical contact, like football or basketball, some of those may not be a good fit. Some of the sports that could be a good fit are karate or obviously tennis. I mean, there are a myriad of sports that would be good. And so the task for parents is finding out what would be good. Now, one of the hurdles that we have is teaching or somehow communicating to parents that tennis is something that their child can do. I think often people see tennis on TV and they're like, oh, my child can't do that. And they can, because of the way that we're able to adapt it. Tennis may look very different. I can tell you there is one fellow who came here in Raleigh and he had autism and he did not want to play tennis. But what he did was go out on the court and he would walk around and he would pick up balls and he would run and he was outside and he was with people and it was positive for him. That's what he needed. But then gradually, week after doing that, the next thing you know, he's picking up a racket and then he's touching the ball and then he's trying to hit it. And before you know it, he's able to hit the ball. So the patience that comes with that, we find in our volunteers. It's incredible. A lot of our volunteers, it's one-on-one so that they can give those individuals a lot of attention and guidance. 1 out of 68 children, or 1.5% of children or babies, are born with autism. There are often gross and motor delays that can lead to inactivity amongst people with autism. And so getting them involved in a sport allows them to hone some of those delays and make them actually help correct them. Instead of leading to inactivity, we want it to lead to activity, because the inactivity can then lead to weight gain, which actually people with autism, 1/3 of them are overweight. That can be because of the inactivity. It can be because of medications. Many of them deal with anxiety, and some of the medications also cause weight gain. And so if an athlete can turn to the court to exercise, and as we all know, not only does it help with weight, but it also helps with mental health. And so being able to run around and get that energy out can also decrease the anxiety that some of them feel. And so we find that tennis is really, in our minds, the ultimate sport for our athletes with autism.
You mentioned, and you have mentioned many times, the volunteers that work with these athletes are the bedrock of abilities tennis. Talk about some of your volunteers and What roles do they play? I know you said that they work one-on-one, but a little bit more detail about that. How does a clinic work, and how would a tournament work?
The way that our athletes, when they come into a clinic, we have it extremely, like, I don't want to say rigid, but planned. And that also fits and works with our autistic community, and not just them, all of our athletes. They want to know what to expect, how it's going to be run. They like clear boundaries. They like for it to be not too much stimulation. So there's a calmness that we try to keep, and the volunteers can bring that by working with each individual, like one-on-one. So a clinic would be set up where the athletes come. Usually we don't have any more than 15 to 18 in each one. And they would gather in a circle, because as we all know, this is so much more than tennis. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say this, but it's not even about tennis. Mm-hmm. It is literally to bring people together to create community. And that's our goal. And so every clinic, they come together and stand in a circle, and we usually have a question that we bring up, and everyone will go around and share. And so relationships are built in that circle, and which has been really important during the pandemic. Our athletes call each other, check on each other, and the community has sustained the individuals during this time. But the clinics, after this time of socializing, then we start in on stretches, dynamic, static stretches. Then we go to ball drills, just 2 or 3 of those, 2 or 3 racket drills, then hitting drills, and then ultimately games, which, as we all know, that's where we want to be. Everybody wants to be playing games. And so nothing is really that different with our setup than other setups with clinics. And that, I think, is the point I want to make today, is that our athletes are really not different than anyone else in terms of what their goals and desires are. They love to compete. They want to be out there, and our organization gives them the opportunity to learn the skills, to become good tennis players, and then to show it off at our tournaments. Mm-hmm. And that is really exciting for me and for our volunteers to see the athletes growing and becoming better at tennis, which then is good for their self-esteem on the court, and then that carries into other avenues in their lives. And so our tournaments are an opportunity for our athletes to come together and compete. They love to compete, just like we do. Mm-hmm. And so it's a little bit different. Our structure is the sets are shorter. There is no ad. We have people on the sidelines to keep score. And one of the highlights is our athletes always win a medal. And that is really cool to see. I mean, sometimes I think that might be the only reason they come, but that's okay. We will hear from parents that they love their medals. They hang them all around their room, and it's just fun to see how excited they get about competing and showing their families how their skills have improved.
My experience watching the athletes compete, especially when we were in Winston-Salem at that event at Taylor Tennis Center, which is a pretty competitive event as far as the level of tennis is being played. I will get into long conversations about somebody's toss or how they're hitting their forehand. I mean, and the parents interact just like they would at any junior or adult league match or anything that we all, it's very similar. And I think people think that might be different, but it's not at all. And like you said, it's not about tennis, and that's true. Most of what we do, to be honest, is not about tennis. It's about fun, fitness, and friends. And the relationships that we build through our sport are life-changing. So there's no difference in that at all. And so tell us a little bit about the typical athlete. I know that when we began this journey with Abilities Tennis many, many years ago, because I was used to speaking like the kids in the clinic, because that's, I was corrected that these were athletes and that they weren't kids necessarily. So what is your typical athlete in that comes to clinics or to tournaments, age-wise?
Yes, an athlete would be 8 years of age and older. Our oldest is 65. And we still often say kids, and they're adults.
Yeah.
Many of them are 18 and over. So the ratio is about 70% adults, 30% children. And so, yes, that is a fact that a lot of people don't know.
Is there any difference the way your volunteers work with a 10, 11, 12-year-old as opposed to a 35-year-old?
Really, there's not that much. I mean, they're on the court working with them individually. Our athletes have an IQ of 70 or less. That's the definition, basically, in very short terms of what someone with an intellectual disability, that's the definition. And so a lot of times people who are 35 can identify with our volunteers on the same level with someone who's 18. And so we really don't treat them any differently.
I didn't know if there was just a different method of teaching as opposed from an adult to a junior. And this is a lesson that I had to learn early on too. We all know what a wonderful organization internationally Special Olympics is. That has been an absolute blessing for so many people around the world, not just in this, in the United States. I know the Shriver family still leads that organization. So what's the difference between Abilities Tennis and Special Olympics, and why do we need abilities when we have Special Olympics?
Great question, Kelly. And because of Special Olympics, that is the reason that we are here. So the setup with Special Olympics is every 2 months they have a different sport that is provided for their athletes to participate in. And it's such a great organization that offers so many programs. But what happened is there were some parents and a coach who got together and realized our people here love tennis. They're tennis addicts, kind of like we are, and they wanted to play year round. 2 months is not enough to play tennis if that's your real love. And so that is when Abilities Tennis was formed to provide year round tennis programming.
Well, tennis is for everyone, and we are all blessed by what you do. And before we conclude, I want you to just tell us a little bit about you. I know I always like to ask this question: what got you into tennis? And I know a little bit of your path, but I don't know all of your path. So how did you first come to tennis? What was the main ingredient?
Well, it's funny because I told my mother at the age of 6 that I wanted to play tennis, and she took me to the Parks and Rec department, and they said I was too small to play, and they turned me away. And so then I got into, I know maybe you don't want to include that. That was a long time ago. So yeah. I started riding horses, and I rode horses until I was 11. And I often wonder, I could have been really good at tennis.
Well, you're not bad.
And so then I picked it back up at 11, and I just fell in love with it. I played in high school, I played in college, and then I did take a break for a while, moved down to Florida. I played a lot down there in tournaments. And then, after having children, I probably took 10 years off, but now I'm back playing and I love it, and just feel so blessed to be able to combine my passions and my love of people, my love of tennis into one fabulous job.
I can so agree with that. And I know that you have just been so special to be there, and we're so grateful to you in North Carolina for what you're able to do. And we thank your family for sharing you a lot with that. And I know that you have a very special board right now, and would imagine you would like to give them a little bit of a kudo, because yes, you are an incredible individual. You are a force of nature in so many ways, but no one is an island out there. So you have a lot of support. So tell us a little bit about your board and the leadership they provide for you.
Well, Kelly, one thing I want to say about Abilities Tennis is it truly is a community running it. And when we talk about it being a statewide CTA, I cannot do this job without all of the volunteers across the state. And so we see people coming together, coaches, volunteers, parents, that just hold this organization up and make it possible. And the board is part of that. And you're right that it is one special board. Our president, Cameron Rosenau, has been incredible. He's a great tennis player, 5'0" from Burlington, and has been wonderful. Alex Rucker, who, if you're in North Carolina tennis, he is an icon in North Carolina tennis. He's fabulous. Then we have Wendy Burkhard, who is from Raleigh, and she has a child with an intellectual disability. She has been wonderful. Then we also have John Richardson, and he actually leads the clinics out in Raleigh at Millbrook. We have Duncan McGrew, and he is our treasurer. And then Ken Smith is our latest board member, and he is a WRAL commentator in Raleigh, and he has been incredible on the board and given us some opportunities to display our organization through the media.
Now, I know that you have quite a few of our, like, I would call them hubs around North Carolina that offer clinics. I know Wilmington, Greensboro, Raleigh, I think at Goldsboro. I mean, you have some of these. How would one go about getting involved? Like they hear this now, oh, this is something I really want to do. How can they get involved, and how can they find out a lot about what all you do?
Well, if you go to our website at www.atanc.org, we have all of our clinics listed. We have emails, phone numbers there where you can reach out to the individual locations. And then you can always email me, call me, my information's on the website, and we would love to get you connected to our organization and give you the opportunity to play tennis and build community.
Well, that's great. And I hope our viewers will do that, because I can tell you, I've been in tennis, it's embarrassing to say, it'll soon be close to 50 years. I've been working in tennis for my entire adult life, and I have a lot of great memories. But when people say to me, what is your most poignant memory of tennis, or the event that you felt like was life-changing, mine would be working the World Games, the Special Olympics World Games, late 90s. They were held in the Triangle. I don't even know if you were in the Triangle then, but they were held throughout the Triangle, and many of our viewers may have remembered that. It was quite a big deal. And at UNC Chapel Hill courts, the varsity courts, they hosted the tennis. They had competition, and the competition was as competitive as anything that you would see anywhere, really. And then there were skills challenges, and everybody that wanted to participate had a chance to do that from their country. But with me, we did a lot of the games that we kind of entertained them at the end of the day with some hit for prizes, carnivals, that kind of thing. And it didn't matter if an athlete got a wristband, got a piece of candy. It didn't matter. You would have thought they had been given a gold medal. And the enthusiasm and the love was just something I'll never forget. I can almost get choked up just talking about it now. And that was close to 25 years ago that occurred. But that was early in my career with North Carolina tennis, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. And it was just something that was so special. So I always get that same feeling when I am around the athletes that we serve in Abilities Tennis. As we close, let me just ask you a couple quick hit things.
Okay.
First of all, favorite tennis player of all time?
Roger Federer.
Hard to say anybody else, right? What is your most favorite match you've ever played?
Oh, I was playing for Rose High School, and I'm not going to say her name. I think she's still around, and she was so much better than I was. And she had me 6-0, 5-0, like 15 love. And I just started fighting back. And before you know it, I came back and won the match.
Wow.
And her coach later told me, I'm so happy you did that because she was so overly confident. And that was kind of an example of like when we think we've won, is a lesson to me to never be on the other side. You know, it's not over till it's over. But I will never forget that. And it's given me so much confidence to always persevere.
You can always draw on that experience right there. And that's an example of what tennis gives us, is it gives us life lessons that, you know, just because it happens inside 78-foot lines doesn't mean you carry it way throughout your life. So that's great. Well, this is a kind of a silly one, but you know, I know when you walked on stage to get the at our national meeting in 2018, they played walk-up music, and I don't even remember what yours was. But what if you could choose? What would your walk-up music be?
My family is going to laugh so hard. I always say "Walking on Sunshine." I just love that song. It's so happy.
So Lou, thank you so much for being with us in our Then and Now series. You are an extraordinary person, and you lead an organization that's doing so much good for people. And thank you. We got to always remember, tennis is for everyone. Tennis gives everyone something for sure. And the health benefits, the mental health benefits are something that we always have to talk about because it's true. It's absolutely true. But thank you, Lou. Thank you to Abilities Tennis, to all of your board and to all your volunteers, your coaches, and your athletes. Thank you. We're looking forward to a great 2021. Hopefully we'll be back at the Winston-Salem Open and the Atlantic Tire and see you. We will see you all on the courts. So thank you so much, Lou.
Kelly, thank you so much. I enjoyed being here and having the opportunity to share about Abilities Tennis.